I would like to call upon the next speaker, Dr. Pooja Shah. Dr. Pooja Shah comes from my place, Shimoga. She is Associate Professor at Subbaiah Institute of Medical Sciences, Shimoga. She has done her MBBS from SDM Medical College, Medical Sciences and Hospital, Dharwad, and MD Anesthesia from JNMC, Belagavi. Her interests are in TIVA, NORA, and regional anesthesia. She has been awarded the best paper at NDA Con in 2012. Winner of debate competition during PGXL 2013. She is author of Residency Made Easy Anesthesia, and she has 5 national and international publications to her credit. Over to you, ma'am.
I know, as one of the previous speakers mentioned, it is extremely difficult to concentrate and focus on the last day of the conference after a wonderful banquet previous night. Anyways, I'll be talking physiology, okay? Basically, it will all revolve around physiology, so you know the effects, the adverse effect profile, the selection, escalation, de-escalation, etc. Right? Vasoactive drugs in the ICU for shock as well as for resuscitation in a patient. These are drugs which by definition bring about their action by acting on the tone of the vasculature, either contraction or relaxation. Right? Few definitions which we in clinical practice have started using it interchangeably. If we keep in mind these names, we know what the action of the drug is. An inotrope acts by bringing about cardiac contractility. Chronotrope acts by having an increase in heart rate. Vasopressors to increase the vascular tone. Similarly, vasodilators, which will relax the vasculature. Inodilator, it is a combination of 2 actions the drug has. It brings about increased cardiac contractility, that is the inotropic function, as well as dilatation of the vasculature to bring about reduction in the systemic vascular resistance. And another term, which is lucitrope. This is specific for drugs which bring about relaxation of the cardiac vasculature during cardiac muscles during diastole. We see our cardiologists keep giving us reports that the patient is having diastolic dysfunction, grade 1, grade 2, and so forth. So those are the patients who benefit with these category of drugs. Right? Like I told, that we will classify the drugs based on their action. You can start with different forms of shock and then go into the drugs which are used in each form, but then that will again have overlapping mechanisms. We can start from the receptors where it acts and again proceed towards the drugs. I choose to do it the opposite way, right? So inodilators, you have these drugs which increase the cardiac contractility as well as bring about reduction in afterload by reducing the systemic vascular resistance. Inopressors increase the contractility of the myocardium as well as increase vascular resistance. Pure vasopressors are those which do not have an effect on the cardiac muscles but then bring about vascular contraction. And a few others which fall into one of these categories, but then I keep them separate. Right? The first category I mentioned was those of inodilators. The prototype of the inotrope that we use is dobutamine. It is a beta-1 agonist with very, very minimal alpha action. So beta agonist action will bring about increased heart rate acting on the nodal system, increase in cardiac contractility by acting on the musculature, right? So the ups and downs for this drug are, one, it has a very short half-life and thus easily titratable, but the action will get tachyphylaxis or there will be downregulation of the receptors beyond 24 to 48 hours. So then there we'll have a difficulty. Milrinone does not act through the catecholamine pathway. It has a separate mode of action which is a phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitor. So it acts through the cyclic AMP pathway. causing increased cytoplasmic calcium levels and thus increasing cardiac contractility. Isoprotrenol or isoprenaline, as we say, it is the pharmacological pacemaker. Most commonly, this is not used by an intensivist anesthesiologist generally. It is reserved for those cases where the patient is, waiting for a permanent pacemaker implant, or you are taking him for transvenous or even transcutaneous pacing, and he's having severe nodal dysfunction, extreme bradycardia. Cardiogenic shock, dobutamine and milrinone. Septic shock, these drugs are used in combination with other vasopressors, which are the primary line of treatment. And bradycardic pericarditis, I mentioned, was isoprotrenol, right? So dobutamine, specific first line of drug to be used in cardiogenic shock, used along with norepinephrine and vasopressin in septic shock and cardiomyopathy in sepsis patients. Milrinone having all the three actions, an inotrope, lusitrope, as well as vasodilators, used purely in cardiogenic shock cases. This is the second category, which are inopressors, having primary action on the alpha receptors in the vasculature, thus bringing about increase in afterload and increased blood pressure, with minimal action on the beta receptors, also causing an increased heart rate and cardiac contractility, right? With noradrenaline, we mentioned that it is to be used very carefully in patients who are having pre-existing tachyarrhythmias, cases of atrial fibrillation with a rapid ventricular response. So there you'll have to be a little careful. As far as epinephrine, it is the drug of choice in arrest cases, but in septic shock we use it either second or rather third in line due to its arrhythmogenic potential and other adverse effects. Make sure when you are using epinephrine, one main point, it does increase lactate production due to its action on beta-2 receptors in the liver. And that is why you will not be able to use lactate as a measure of perfusion in those cases, because the lactate levels would rise on its own. Dopamine, the previous decades, it was a wonder drug. People were very, very happy with it, starting with dopamine. But of late, it has gone out of practice. The renal dose concept now stands obsolete. The moderate dose, where it has beta-1 action, is still used in combination with other agents, but not the first line of drug in any of the cases of shock now. Right, same thing that I mentioned. In the ANSYS trial, in SOAP study, it is already mentioned as compared to placebo, as compared to epinephrine, dopamine does not have any benefit. Rather, there was increased mortality noticed in some of the studies. Now, noradrenaline, our drug of choice for cases of septic shock. Adrenaline, I've already mentioned, second or third line in septic shock. In severe shock of any category, in arrest cases, it is the drug of choice. The third category is those of the pure vasopressors, which have an effect only on the vasculature, causing increased afterload, increased preload, with very, very minimal or rather no effect on the cardiac musculature. Phenylephrine is an alpha-1 agonist, and vasopressin, again independent of the catecholamine pathway, acts by V1 and V2 receptors. On V1, it causes increased systemic vascular resistance. By acting on V2 receptors, insertion of aquaporins, increased water reabsorption, and improved renal perfusion. But then there is a significant side effect for the use of vasopressin would be tissue necrosis and digital ischemia to be careful about. Angiotensin 2 theoretically proved to be a good drug actually. By mechanism of action, it would have all the effects that we desire. But then in clinical trials, it has had a significant adverse effect profile where it increases interleukin 6 levels, has cytokine storm-like action, predisposes the patient to develop MODS. And so we do not have too much clinical data, and thus it is not a recommended drug in any of the cases right now. Right, the other category that I mentioned, few drugs, just to be mentioned, none of them are having enough significant clinical data to be made use of right now. Methylene blue acts by inhibiting nitric oxide synthase. Levosimendan is a calcium sensitizer. It causes increased sensitivity of the myocardial tissue towards the calcium. And midodrine is similar to phenylephrine. It is a drug which is an oral vasopressor. Right? Methylene blue mentioned, again it is more of theoretical mention due to its adverse effect profile and fewer research available. We do not use it in clinical practice. Levosimendan, like mentioned, is a calcium sensitizer. It is used in acute cardiac failure, it is mentioned. But then due to its effects and side effect profile, it can be proposed in the use of septic shock also. Midodrine, like I mentioned, there is one MIDAS trial which was done where they did not mention actual benefit, but then still there are clinicians who make use of this in order to wean off the patient from the vasopressors when you're shifting them from your intensive care to the step-down ICUs for a while. The future trends here, there is one mention of something called broad-spectrum vasopressors, similar to what we have with broad-spectrum antibiotics, where we know that whenever there is a hypotensive state, a state of shock, our body does not respond in one single pathway or one single catecholamine. And that is why it is suggested that we use a mixture of vasopressors, start them early, start them in a higher dose, and then gradually, depending on the benefits and what you do not require, you de-escalate the doses, right? Monitoring. Initially, we have always been titrating these drugs with the use of mean arterial pressure or the lactate levels or urine output. It is suggested to use more sensitive surrogate monitoring, like bedside ultrasonography has been started making use of. Other than that, we can make use of other biomarkers, monitoring like dynamic arterial elasticity, SVV, PVV variations, which will help us to start the drugs early, de-escalate them and stop them at the required level. Role of artificial intelligence in this particular category is plenty. All these various aspects of artificial intelligence can be made use of, like closed loop monitoring can help us to guide the selection of the drug, the escalation and de-escalation, and combination therapy. It is always believed that single drug will not give us the required effect. So start early, de-escalate whenever required, and make use of a combination therapy, since the pathophysiology most of the times is not unilateral. It is not just sepsis, it is not just cardiogenic, just hypotensive most of the times. So a combination of drugs, de-escalation at the right time, and the use of these future trends will definitely help us benefit the patients. Thank you very much for your patient listening.